All right, you came back. Good. I hope everybody is in a good seat with a table or a desk in front of you. Got your materials going. Keep in mind that your materials, once again, white paper, pencil, erasers, colored pencils, some kind of color. You could, hey, if you've got some watercolor or anything, you could watercolor these things too. So forgiveness. Have you thought of something that maybe you haven't forgiven? I mean, that you haven't apologized for yet? Try to be real. I want this real. I want it something that's coming directly from you, right? And once you got that, once you have that, whatever it is, if it was you pushing somebody to the ground, maybe draw a picture of kind of a fight scene of some sort. No blood, no crazy stuff, right? But, you know, what you're doing is you're going to illustrate what you are apologizing for, what you're saying you're sorry for. So what I would suggest that you do is once you have that, once you know that, the next step is that you need to, what kind of picture am I going to use, right? I made it simple. I just made a window with a big broken glass out of it. And with the words, "I'm sorry," on the top. It kind of explains itself, right? And that's kind of what I want you to do. I want you to keep this real simple. Doesn't need a lot of detail. A good, "I'm sorry, please forgive me," or "forgive me," what have you, and some kind of picture that illustrates what you're apologizing for. And maybe you could put even like a border around it, right? And so that's what needs to be done first before you really get into coloring or anything like that, or even putting a bunch of little detail. Let's keep it as simple as possible. And so, the first thing that I would do is, like a good piece of art, let's put a frame around it. If you notice me, I just put a line around it, kind of a little frame, a little mat, and that's so easy. You could do it freehand, or you can get a ruler. Either way, it's fairly easy to do. Okay, what I would suggest you do after you fold your paper, when you lay it down on your desk or the table you're at, make sure that this crease, the fold, right, is on the left side of your body, right? It's just like a book. You don't read a book like that, you read a book like this. So, the fold is on the left side of your body. The second thing I'd like for you to do is put some kind of border around it. Doesn't have to be perfect lines, right? And what I would do is at the top, kind of like what I did, I'm telling you exactly what this card is all about. I'm sorry. Or forgive me. Something really, really simple. Now, we all probably know how to use these big bubble letters. We've talked about that before. I'm sure that a lot of you are really good at this already. But make them big and bold. You know, you don't go up to somebody and go, "I'm sorry." Now, that's no good. You go, "Hey, I'm sorry. I mean it. I'm sorry." So make it big and bold. That's just a way to emphasize what you're trying to do. And you know another thing, let me teach you a new word today. Absolution. Have you ever heard of that word? What you're doing is that when you apologize to somebody, when you say you're sorry, you're wanting them to forgive you. And that's the same kind of thing as absolution. They're going, "Okay, I know that you did me wrong. I think you're basically a good person, and so I'm going to forgive you." So absolution is kind of cool because you go in and you're kind of nervous and maybe it's kind of hard to tell somebody that you're sorry, right? And it's just a way for that person to get over it and make them feel good, and it makes you feel good too, right? You know how good it is when somebody comes up that's hurt you or bothered you and said, I'm sorry. It makes you feel good. And that's what this is all about. So, big letters, I'm sorry, forgive me, something like that. I'm going to leave that up to you. And then the next thing I want you to do is I want you to come up with a picture, right? It could be, use your imagination. I know you guys have great imaginations, right? Come up with something. And of course, once again, you got to come up with a real situation that's happened in your life, right? I know that you haven't been around a long time, but I bet you a buck that you have had a few things in your life that you're probably not very proud of. I know I do. Most people do. We live and we learn to do better, right? So, want you to spend the time to get your words down. I'm sorry, forgive me, I apologize, whatever you decide to do. If you want to come up with a clever new way of saying you're sorry, go for it. Use your imagination. So next step, for me anyway, is to come up with the picture. And of course I've already done it, but I'm going to try to, I've got this big space right here underneath I'm sorry, right? You fill it up. Don't make a little tiny picture over here in the corner. If you're going to draw a picture of a person, draw that picture that big. Draw it large. You've got that space. Think of the cards that you have seen at Walmart or Target or what have you. They're pretty cool, and you want it to be cool. You want it to be colorful. If you were going to actually give this to somebody, right? So, I think that it's this could be fun. I want you to kind of get into it. It might be kind of embarrassing. Hey, don't pick something that's really embarrassing or something like that. You can pick up something just really simple and little. I'm not expecting you to bare your soul and tell us your deep, dark secrets. No. I just want you to go through the process of you thinking about something that you might have done to hurt somebody, and that you realize that, and you go to them and ask forgiveness. That is so cool. It's also very honorable. It's something that the people that have honor do for other people. Admit that you've done something wrong. Sometimes it takes a big person to do that, because it can be scary if you do that. If you've lied to your mother and you get caught, that's kind of a weird, hard thing to deal with. But the idea of how you get beyond that is, first of all, you don't lie to her again, and secondly, you go to her and go, I'm sorry, I was wrong. And if she's anything like my mother, she's going to hug you and give you a kiss, a big fat wet kiss on the cheek. But anyway, that's another story of mine. So think of what you're going to do, continue on, create your picture on front. This is really kind of a simple thing. Kind of an interesting thing, though, is a young person that I worked with at Eugene Fields asked me once, when did people start giving cards? Right? That's kind of like, we know I grew up with people sending cards, so it's older than me. Yeah, I know. Very few things are older than me, right? But giving cards and making cards are something that I grew up with. Most people give, and it's kind of interesting because cards kind of started in Europe about 250 years ago, right? It was something that not your average person did, but an artist made them, right? They would make them, and regular people that aren't really even considered artists, right? They would make these little cards with little pictures of flowers on them and have them hand delivered to the people they wanted to give them. Back in the late 19th century, it became a business. Companies started making cards, like I want to, somebody's not feeling good, so I need to go into a store and buy them. And so that during that period of time was called the Victorian Age because Queen Victoria was Queen of England at the time. So she did it, so it's kind of like the Kardashians. If the Kardashians are doing something that's cool, everybody wants to do it, right? Well, maybe not me, but everybody wants to do something like that. And back then, when Queen Victoria did it, it was like, heck, I'm going to be in the in crowd, and I'm going to do it too. So I thought that was kind of interesting that it was something that just people did on their own, but then it became real fashionable, and it became a business, right? And so anyway, I just thought that was really kind of cool. So how's your pictures coming along? Again, these don't have to be really, really detailed or perfect, just enough to where you get your message across. Another thing too, and keep this in mind, I think I mentioned it earlier, and that is in the inside of the card, I want you to just say, forgive me for whatever. Don't have to say the names, nothing like that. Just a little note on the inside, and mine says, forgive me for breaking the window. That's what I want you to do. So I want you to do, a beautiful picture on the front, a lot of color, that kind of a thing. And then on the inside, just a little note, right? I'm sorry. Things will get better. I promise I won't do it again. Because that's what asking for forgiveness is. I'm not going to do it again. So keep in mind, when they used to make cards hundreds of years ago, right? Whether it was an individual that did it in their own home and gave it, and a little bit later when they started a business of cards, they were all handmade, right? It was like they used pencil, ink, like India ink, different colors of India ink, and watercolor. Most of the old Victorian cards, a lot of Valentine's Day cards, that Valentine's Day card, it was during the Victorian era. And so it wasn't like it took a major skill or really expensive materials. They just used what they had, right? And so they actually sometimes in a lot of those cards, they would press flowers, like different kinds of flowers, and they would put them in books and squash them, and then when they dried out, they would glue them on the cards too. So there was a lot of different ways. So really a lot of the cards back then were mixed media, right? There were a variety of different things. In fact, some things, what they did is they used actual gold, liquid gold, and they would like put dots and stuff around them. So it's really kind of an interesting art form. So finish these up. Actually, I want to see some of these. So listen, if you've got something that you're really proud of, I would really like for you to take a photograph of it, and go to the Oklahoma City Arts Council's Instagram page or Facebook page and post it. Listen, it's been great spending some time with you right now. Please be safe out there. Get out there and enjoy some of this beautiful weather, this fall weather, and I will see you next time.